I found you by the side of the road, in the middle of nowhere. Was there an accident? Did someone try to hurt you?
We've stepped into this well-refrigerated space behind the PlayStation booth here at E3 to catch up with David Cage, and I have to say, when Beyond Two Souls comes on the press conference, I pretty much want to close my eyes because I don't want to know anything about it. It's one of those games where you really don't want to know too much, right? But you have to show it, and you showed off this long demo, and I have yet to see it because I don't want to see it. You want to sell the game, but of course, this is the kind of game that you really don't want to know too much about before you start playing, right?
Yeah, it's always a tricky situation where you need to show parts of the game to convince people to get interested in it, and at the same time you don't want to spoil the game for people who know they're gonna want it anyway. So it's a difficult balance to find, but here I think it was important for us to come this year at E3 to show something playable. There are still many people who don't really get how you can play a story-driven experience and if it's really playable and what button you press to do what. And I can understand that, it makes sense, but so we needed to come to E3 to show these people, okay, this is what we do, this is how you play, and then check out.
Because it's also something that's a little bit different than what you first showed of the game. It's a very different setting for it. Can you tell us something about what the game spans and sort of what sort of the arc entails?
Well, that's a very interesting thing, is that we showed very different scenes. We show a scene taking place in Somalia, or here at E3, where Jodie is a CIA agent. So this is one moment in life. But a couple of months ago, we were at the Tribeca Festival in New York, and we showed a scene where she's homeless, and she lives with a homeless community under a bridge, and she needs to help a young girl to give birth. And before that, we showed out the scene where she's a kid. And it seems very difficult for people to connect dots and say, wait a minute, this is just one game. Yeah, this is just one game, and each scene is different. Each scene corresponds to a different moment in the life of Jodie Holmes, and this is really the journey that Beyond has to offer. It's unlike most other games you have played before. It's not a game where you got mechanics and each scene is just a different level. Here in each scene, it's a different setting, it's a different situation, different age for Jodie, different way for her to move, to talk, different way she looks. And each scene is almost a different story. So it's a very different experience, and I hope people will enjoy that.
So I could imagine that for Ellen Page as the actress, she's doing something a little bit different, because in a movie you just get a child actor for one part, and then you get someone else, and then you get a third one if there's an older section of it. But here she has to sort of span the whole spectrum of it.
Right.
So what has that been like to try to get her to do that?
Oh, it's been absolutely great. I mean, she's Jodie Holmes between the age of 14 and the age of 23, and when she's 8, it's another young actress, of course, playing the role. But Ellen's done a fantastic job at being Jodie Holmes at different ages, without overacting anything, or especially when she's a teenager. She's a very believable teenager, and she's just a fantastic actress. So we worked a lot together beforehand and on set to talk about the role, talk about the character, talk about the different mindsets that she has at different ages, how she feels, what she thinks. And it's been just a fantastic fantastic experience to work with Ellen and with Willem Dafoe, of course, who was of course a different role. But no, it was great, and I hope that all this will come across in the game for players.
So if you could contrast yourself, the work that you've done with Beyond Two Souls and what you did with Heavy Rain, what's because it feels like two very different games, but there's still something Quantic Dream about both of them. But if you contrast them yourself in your own words, what people can expect?
The two games are different and similar at the same time. I think you're absolutely right. I mean, what we try to do is to have games with a meanings, game that says something. We pay a lot of attention to the emotions, what you're going to feel when you play. And of course, it's pretty much story driven. But the two games are very different. They have a different balance. They tell a different story, and I would say Beyond has a very different gameplay mechanic that is totally new compared to Heavy Rain, which is the possibility to control a human being, Jodie Holmes, but at the same time you can switch at any time to the ghost, Aiden, that she has a link with, and you can play as the ghost. So you can switch from one point of view to another, you can make the two collaborate. And what was very important to us was also the fact that this spirit, this entity, is not just a power. It's really a character with his own personality and his own goals and his own taste and his own skills. And sometimes he is aligned with Jodie and they want the same thing, and he behaves like a guardian angel because he really likes her. But sometimes he can be very possessive and very jealous. He tends to think that Jodie is his thing, and he wants really to own her in many ways. And the game is there are many differences. I mean, Heavy Rain was through 4 days. Beyond is through 15 years. Heavy Rain was with 4 characters, where Beyond is with 2 characters, Jodie and Aiden, but through 15 years. So you play a little girl or you play a teenager. It's like playing different characters at different ages. And the game is bigger in size, it's bigger in scope, it's more spectacular, it's more epic in many ways, but at the same time you have these very epic moments, but at the same time you have also very intimate moments. And it's a journey into someone's life. I mean, this is really what we try to achieve.
So it's coming right at the tail end, sort of the PlayStation 3's heydays. I'm sure PlayStation 3 is going to live for many years to come. But what's it like to be sort of like the last of the big titles to release on the before the PS4 comes? And of course you're also part of working on PS4. And how, would Beyond be any different if you'd sort of refocused and shifted it to PS4 and released it later?
Visually, it would probably have been different, but I don't think the experience would have been designed any differently. It's a great feeling to be at the end of a console cycle, because it's the moment where there are the biggest market. I mean, there are most consumers out there. There are more than 70 million people owning a PlayStation 3. So it's also the moment where there is less pressure from hardcore gamers to get more shooters and more driving games, and where you can experiment and try new things and try to make people maybe who didn't play so much on this cycle try to get interested. And we pay a lot of attention to gamers, whether they're hardcore or casual, but we also pay a lot of attention to the female audience. We discovered something very interesting, is the amount of people who played Heavy Rain with their wives or their girlfriends. And many gamers came to us saying, this is the only game that I shared with my girlfriend, because there is a story, there were different protagonists, and she was playing the puppet master, saying do this, don't do this, say that, and they really spent some good time together. And this is something very interesting to me, because I think it shows that it's possible to do this, and there is an interest from the female audience for this kind of games, which is something very, very exciting for us.
So looking to the future, what would you like to sort of bring to the gaming public in the future if you just could dream freely?
Well, I'm interested in 2 things, I would say. I'm interested in emotion. I think people got that now. But I'm also interested in meaning. I'm interested in games that will have something to say. I'm not thinking delivering a big message to mankind. I'm more thinking about, can we leave an imprint? Can we create games that players will remember, that will maybe change even a tiny bit who they are or how they think? Because I think that's the case with some books I read. They really made me who I am today, or some of the films I liked. But with games, it's sometimes it feels like, okay, I had a lot of fun, it was really entertaining, and I'm done with it and I forget it, and there's nothing left in me. And I think it's time, and some games do it right. I mean, it's not all games. Some games leave something in you, but I wish there were more, and that they would make you change a little bit and leave an imprint in you, and change how you see the world, how you see yourself in a way or another.
Right. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Tell them to leave me the fuck alone, because next time, I'll kill everyone. Come on, Aiden. I think they get the message.